Welcome back to my class. In our last few classes, we have learned about minterms and maxterms, sum of product and product of sum of Boolean expressions. We have also learned Karnaugh map or K map, and also we have simplified a few Boolean expressions using 3-variable K map. In today's class, as I promised, we will be solving a few Boolean expressions using 4-variable K map, both for sum of product and product of sum. So let's get started. The first example is for sum of product, and here we can see a Boolean expression or a logical function is given in the form of minterms, and that function is dependent on 4 variables a, b, c, d. So 4 variables means we will have in that K map 16 combinations or 16 cells. So here 0 to 14 these minterms are given, so these are valid. So first thing what we have to do is we have to draw the K map. So as we know, we will have 16 cells for 4 variables. Then we will complete the marking of the variables and their corresponding values. Then we will complete the marking of the cells, which is not mandatory if we can remember. Then we need the help of the truth table to know the corresponding minterm number. But since here already the minterms numbers are given, so we don't need the help of that truth table. So directly from that given Boolean expression we can fill the cells. So as they are minterms, so corresponding cells will be filled by ones and the remaining field will be filled by zeros. Now we will simplify this Boolean expression by using the concept of K map, and before that, as we know that we need to group those cells, and first we will search for octet, and when we are done with octet and if it is not possible, then we will go for quad and then we will go for pair. So as we can see here that these 8 cells are adjacent cells, so we can group all these 8 cells and these 8 cells can form an octet. Now if we evaluate these 8 cells, then what we can see here is between these two cells the value of A remains same, and that is 0, and value of B changes from 0 to 1, so B will be eliminated. And between these two cells D is changing value from 0 to 1, so D will be eliminated, and between these two cells C is changing value, so C will be eliminated. So from this octet, as we can see, or as we can say, that B, C and D, all these 3 variables will be eliminated, and only variable that will remain in the modified term, that will be for A. And since the value of A in these two cells are 0, so the modified term for that octet will be A complement. Now we have to search whether any quad is possible or not, and for that we need 4 adjacent cells, and also we have to see that at least a single one should not be a part of any group yet. But as we can see in this K map, there are no 4 such adjacent cells, so no quad is possible. Then we can see one here which is not yet part of any group, so between these two ones, though it is a part of this octet, we can form a pair. And when we will evaluate this pair, what we can see here that A is changing value from 0 to 1, so that will be eliminated. B remains same and that value is 1. So for that, in that modified term, B will be in its original form, which is B, and the value of C and D, C remains same, D also remains same. Value of C is 0, so it will be C complement. Value of D is 1, so it will be D. Next, what we can see here, we have again one here which is not part of any group, so between this one and this one we can form a pair. And when we evaluate, then again A is changing value, so that will be eliminated. B remains same, so that value will be B only. And for C and D, what we can see here, that value of C and D both are not changing, and value of C is 1, so it will be C only, and value of D is 0, so it will be D complement. Now what we can see, we still have one here which is not part of any group yet, so between this one and this one, which two are adjacent cells as per the definition, we can form a pair. And when we will evaluate that pair, what we can see is A is changing value from 0 to 1, so that will be eliminated. B remains same and that value is 0, so it will be B complement. And for C and D, both remain same and their values are 1 1, so it will be CD. So the modified Boolean expression will be Next, we will simplify another Boolean expression using 4 variable K map, and that is again for SOP. So we will draw the K map first. Then we will complete the marking of the variables, their corresponding values, and also for the cells. Then as the minterm numbers are already given, their corresponding or equivalent decimal numbers, directly we can put the values in this K map. 4 variables and total 16 cells, these are their corresponding values. As these are given in the form of minterms, so those corresponding cells are filled by 1 and the remaining cells will be filled by 0, but that is not mandatory as the groupings will be based on ones only. Now first we will search for octet. As we can see, this 4 cells and these 4 cells, they are adjacent cells as per the definition. So these 8 cells will form an octet. And when we will evaluate for simplification, as we can see, A is changing value from 0 to 1, B remains same and that value is 0. So it will be B complement, A will be eliminated. Between these two cells, D is changing value, so D will be eliminated. C is changing value, so C will be also eliminated. So only variable that will be there in the modified term for that octet or from that octet will be B complement. Then what we can see is that no more octet is possible in this K map, so we will search for quad, and we can easily see that these 4 ones are adjacent cells and these 2 are still not part of any group, so these 4 can be grouped together to form a quad. And when we will simplify based on this quad, what we can see here, between these two adjacent cells, B is changing value and here also B is changing value, so B will be eliminated. Between these two cells, A is changing value, so A will be eliminated. And for C and D, when we evaluate, we will see that C and D remain same and their values are 0 0. So here in the modified term, the variables will be C complement and D complement. Now again we can see that these two cells and these two cells, they are adjacent cells, and among these 4 adjacent cells there is still one cell where we have one which is not yet part of any group, though rest 3 are part of 2 other quad or octet whatever, but still taking these 4 adjacent cells we can form a new quad. And when we will simplify based on that quad, so what we can see here, between these two adjacent cells, A remains same, that value is 1, B is changing value, so B will be eliminated, and A, since that value is 1, so it will be in its original form A. And then when we will evaluate for C and D, between this cell and this cell, what we can see here, C is changing value from 0 to 1, so C will be eliminated, D remains same, D here is 0 and again here is 0, so it will be D complement. Now still we have one here which is not part of any group yet, so what we can do is, by taking this one we cannot form any octet or quad, but easily we can form a pair between this one and this one, or this cell and this cell. And when we will simplify based on these two cells, what we can see, A remains same and that value is 0, so A complement, B is changing value, so B will be eliminated, and for C and D their values are 1, so it will be CD. So the modified Boolean expression will be, next we will simplify a Boolean expression based on product of sum, POS. But what we can see here, the Boolean expression which is given, the logical function, that is dependent on 4 variables, but that is given in the form of minterms. So by the help of minterms, how we can simplify a POS based on K map, that we will see next. So first we need to draw the K map, then we need to fill all the variables and their corresponding values and also the number of the cells, and as the minterms are given, accordingly those corresponding cells will be filled by 1, and then as we know, the remaining cells will be filled by 0. And since this is for POS, so for this K map, the groupings that will be done, those groupings will be based on zeros only. Now what we can see here from these zeros, that no 8 cells filled by 0 are consecutive cells. So here no octet is possible, but easily we can form a few quads, what you can see apparently here. Now if we look at these four adjacent cells, for these four adjacent cells we can form a quad, and when we will simplify based on this quad, what we can see here that A and B, they remain same and their values are 1, and this is based on POS. So for A and B, the variables that we will be writing or that we will be taking is, since the value of A is 1, so it will be A complement, and value of B is also 1, so it will be B complement. And since this is product of sums, so for every term it will be OR operation or summation. And when we evaluate for C and D, what we can see, D is changing value from 0 to 1 and here 1 to 0, so D will be eliminated, and C is also changing value from 0 to 1, so C will be also eliminated. And as we know from a quad, in the modified term we only have two variables. Now what we can see, these four cells are adjacent cells, and so they can also form a quad easily. And when we will simplify based on this quad, what we can see, C and D, their values are 1 and they remain same. So in the modified term it will be C complement plus D complement. And when we will evaluate for A and B, A is changing value from 0 to 1 here, so that will be eliminated. B is also changing value from 0 to 1 here, 1 to 0 here, so B will be eliminated for the same reason. Now what we can see here, that these two cells and these two cells, they are adjacent cells as per the definition, and among all those four adjacent cells there are still two cells which are not part of any group yet. So by taking these four cells, we can easily form our new quad. And when we will simplify based on that quad, what you can see here, A is changing value from 0 to 1, so A will be eliminated. B remains same and that value is 1. So here it will be B complement. And when we will evaluate for C and D, then what we can see, value of C is 0 here and value of C is 1 here. So C is changing value, so C will be eliminated, and value of D is 0 here and value of D is again 0 here. So D remains same and that value is 0, so it will be D here. And all these concepts have already been discussed in our previous classes clearly, so if you want or need, you may refer those classes. So the modified Boolean expression will be, next again we have another Boolean expression based on POS, and this time all the max terms or their numbers are given. So we will draw the K-map first, 4 variables, so 16 cells. Then we will complete the marking of the variables, their corresponding values. Then we will complete the marking of the cells. As per the given max term numbers, we will fill the corresponding cells by zeros, and based on these zeros we will form the groups. And as we can see, these 8 cells are adjacent cells, so they can easily form an octet. And when we will evaluate based on this octet, what we can see is, here B is changing value and A is also changing value, so A and B both will be eliminated, and between these two cells C is changing value and D remains same and that value is 1. And since this is based on POS, so it will be D complement. And what we can see here, that there is no possibility of any more octet, and also there is no possibility for any quad. But what we can see, there are still 4 zeros which are not yet part of any group, and by taking those zeros and their adjacent cells which are filled by zeros, we can form pairs. So here altogether 4 pairs will be possible. Now if we simplify this K-map based on these pairs one by one, what we can see, if we take this pair first, then value of A, B, they remain same and their values are zeros. So it will be A plus B, and here D is changing value but C remains same and that value is also 0, so it will be A plus B plus C. Then if we evaluate this pair, then value of A, B are 1, so it will be A bar plus B bar, and D is changing value and C remains same, that value is 0, so that value will be, variable will be C here. Now if we evaluate this pair, value of A is 0, B is 1. So it will be A plus B bar. D is changing value, C remains same, that is 1. So it will be C complement. Then for this pair, value of A is 1. So it will be A bar plus it will be B, and D is changing value, C remains same, which is 1. So it will be C complement. So till now we have learned how to simplify a Boolean expression using K-map for 3 variables and 4 variables. In the next class we will be solving a few Boolean expressions using K-map by considering don't care conditions. So till then, stay safe and stay healthy. Stay tuned. Thank you.